Hello everybody, this reteach session is for slope-intercept form. Now, slope-intercept form of an equation is when you have y by itself and it is in the form of y equals mx plus b. And m is your slope. So whatever number is multiplied by x, we call that the coefficient of x, that represents your slope. And the number at the end of your equation, that represents your y-intercept. And that is the point at which your line crosses the y-axis. So M represents slope, and B represents your y-intercept. So when an equation is in slope-intercept form, it is easy to tell what the slope of that line is and where it's crossing our y-axis. So if you're given an equation, to identify the slope and y-intercept of this equation, I want to remember my slope-intercept form, where y is equal to mx plus b. And again, the number in place of m, that's your slope. The number at the end being added or subtracted, that is your y-intercept, or where it crosses your y-axis. So if I look at this equation, I have y equals a negative 4x plus 15. The coefficient of x represents our slope. So our slope, m, is a negative 4. You can also think of this slope as being a negative 4 over 1 because slope is rise over run. So this slope has an equation, or a rise of negative 4 and a run of 1. The y-intercept, our b of this equation, is 15. That means that if I were to graph this equation, it would cross my y-axis at a positive 15. And the y-axis is the vertical axis, so it's crossing my y-axis at a positive 15. When your equation is not in slope-intercept form, you can rearrange it so that it is. Just keep in mind the form that you need it in. You need it to be y by itself equal to a number times x and then plus or minus a number at the end. So we really need to isolate y. We need to get y by itself in this equation. So I want to get my 6y term by itself first, but right now it has 8x on the same side. Since 8x is positive, the opposite, or the operation that's going to take that term away from that side, is to subtract. So I would subtract 8x, and since this is an equation, I have to make sure I do it on the other side to keep it balanced. So I'm subtracting 8x on that side too. So 8x minus 8x, they actually cancel each other out, and what's left on this side of the equal sign is a 6y. So I have 6y equals a minus 8x plus 12. Notice I didn't actually subtract 12 minus 8. They're not like terms. I can't subtract them. The x is with the 8. The 12 doesn't have an x. And I put the 8 term, the minus 8 term first because I want it to be in slope-intercept form where the x term comes first. So we're almost there. It almost looks like slope-intercept form. I want to get y by itself. Right now, this is 6 times y. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I actually want to divide by y. And I'm really dividing this entire side, or I'm dividing by 6. I'm really dividing the entire side by 6. But it's a little bit easier, actually, to think of it as dividing every single term by 6 on that side. So minus 8 divided by 6 and 12 divided by 6. So 6 divided by 6, we're left with y. Negative 8/6, I want to leave it as a fraction because it's the slope. I can see the rise over the run, but I want to simplify this fraction. So negative 8/6 actually simplifies to a negative 4/3. I divided out a 2 from each of these. So negative 4/3 x plus 12 divided by 6, that gives me a 2. So here is this equation in slope-intercept form. I can easily see the slope is a negative 4/3. So a rise of a negative 4, that means it's going down 4, and a run of 3, so to the right 3 is that line. And then a y-intercept of 2. That means it's crossing my y-axis at a positive 2. So one more example of this, a negative 4x plus 6y equals 12. Again, I want it to be y equals mx plus b, meaning I want to isolate y. So looking at this equation, I have a minus 4x. The opposite of subtracting 4x would be to add 4x. So I want to add 4x on both sides because I want 6y by itself. I want to get my y term by itself. So these two actually cancel off, and you're left with 6y on the left-hand side. And then 12 plus 4x, I can't actually add them together because they're not like terms. I'm just going to write it as 4x plus 12. I want my x term first so that it's in slope-intercept form. Lastly, if we divide by 6 on every single term, you would have y equals 2/3 x plus 2. So easily I can see now the slope of this equation is 2/3, a rise of 2, a run of 3, and it's crossing my y-axis at a positive 2. One last example, if you're given a graph and you need to write the equation in slope-intercept form, remember what the equation in slope-intercept form is telling us. So y equals mx plus b. If I want to find my y-intercept, that is where my line is crossing my y-axis. Well, this one is my y-axis. I can see that this line is crossing my y-axis right here. So my y-intercept is a negative 2. That means b is a negative 2. Now to calculate my slope, you can calculate it right on the graph. If your graph doesn't have the points on it, you can just point out all the different points. So it's crossing at exactly intersecting marks. So here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. Each of these represents a way to calculate the slope. You can use this one, or you can use any 2 points on the line. So let's say I use these 2 points. I want to calculate the rise over the run. So the change in the vertical distance over the change in the horizontal distance. So from here, I count up 1, 2. I count up 2, so I'm in line with that other point. So that was a rise of 2. And then to the right, 1, a run of 1. So my slope is 2/1. So a rise of 2, a run of 1. That's really the same as a slope of 2. So for my equation, I know my slope is 2, my y-intercept is a negative 2. So if I had to write it as an equation, I'm going to replace the m with my slope. So y equals 2x, and then plus a negative 2, which is really the same as a minus 2. So instead of writing it as plus a negative, you can just write it as y equals 2x minus 2. So finally, here's the exit ticket link. This exit ticket, again, is going to replace your quiz score. This is like a reteach or a retake of this quiz, so make sure you take your time and answer each question carefully.